everybody, my name is Heather, and I have been looking forward to ONYX STORM by Rebecca Yarros for quite some time now, and so this is going to be a spoiler-filled reading vlog. Spoilers everywhere. Like, you can't get around them. So if you are not in the mood to be spoiled for this book, I highly advise saving it to your watch later list. Go finish the book and then come back. This video will still be here. Secondly, this video is going to be two parts. The first part of it is going to be very reading vlog, stream of conscious reactions to things, me thinking out loud about foreshadowing, showing you my food, you know, normal vlog things. The second half of this video is going to be more thought out, end of book reactions. So if you're not interested in the day-to-day experience of reading the book with me, you can skip ahead and I will be much more eloquent, I hope, in my thoughts about ONYX STORM. But I'm so excited. This has been an anticipated release for so many people. So if you're new here and you're watching with me, hi. If not, welcome back and let's get to reading ONYX STORM. Hello, my dragon loving friends. It's January 21st, which, as you know, if you're watching this video, that is ONYX STORM release day. So I have it on my Kindle. I will get a physical copy after I have been paid to add to my collection, but we're reading it on Kindle right now. How perfect is my little Kindle charm that Linda got me with the dragon and the dagger? Like, it's just, it's a vibe. And I have been reading today. I did 4 hours of public sprints. I'm now watching sprints and I am just in a reading mode. And you might be saying, Heather, you're a teacher and it's a Tuesday. Why aren't you at work? As luck would have it, it's too cold to go to work today. It's not snowing, it's not sleeting, it's not precipitation, but I live in Mississippi and I think the low was 16 degrees today and our kids just aren't equipped with the weather gear that they need. Let's talk ONYX STORM. This book popped up on my Kindle at 11:17 p.m. last night. I was so tired, but I did read the prologue before falling asleep because I wanted that experience of, you know, jumping in right away. And I am now just finishing at chapter 9, which is, hold please, 16% into the book. So I've had a pretty successful reading day. I am not trying to finish this all in a day today. I'm just trying to soak it up and enjoy my time, but I have so many thoughts about so many things. So we have a lot of different plot threads going on right now, and I am not going to be able to touch on all of them. But first and foremost, what everybody's concerned about is Xaden and Violet's relationship after the revelation of the ending of book 2. So we all know Xaden is Venin, and he is trying his best to like control that and not let it take over himself. But in the middle of what was about to turn into a spicy scene, we had Xaden clutching the headboard and he realized that he was channeling through the headboard in that moment of passion and he had to stop himself, and he is so worried about losing control and losing himself. And like Violet fully believes that he's not going to, and that he's going to be able to control everything and she's going to be able to find the cure. But we're seeing a lot of self-doubt in Xaden. He is still so sweet to her while still being like, you know, the very formidable presence to everybody else. He actually was just elected the Duke, the something of Tyrrendor. Like, he is in control of an entire province now. And he made Violet promise him that if he sensed that he was losing control, or that if he completely loses control and turns full out Venin, that she is going to sound the alarm for basically Xaden to be, you know, taken and dealt with as a Venin, which is terrifying because she made that promise, which I feel like is just foreshadowing. Like, that is a Chekhov's gun moment. She promised this and now it's going to happen. And so that has me terrified to keep reading. What else is going on? Violet is going to be going on a mission with a very small group of selected people to find Andarna's family, like the other golden color shifting dragons like Andarna. And Andarna fully believes that finding the family is probably going to be the cure for the Venin. So I'm very invested in that storyline. Something that I hate that's going on right now, you know, we've hated Dane up to this point. Forget hating Dane. His dad is the worst. He was ready to just throw her to the wolves and incinerate her. And I hate him. I hate him. He is like the new Varish to me. I can't stand him. I hope y'all don't get sick of all of the updates from my couch, but where else would I be when I'm binge reading a book, right? Okay, chapter 10. I kept seeing chapter 10 with spoiler tags, and so I figured something was probably going to be happening in chapter 10, and boy, did it happen. First of all, Garrick is a walker, I think is what they're called, like can cover thousands of miles in the span of no time at all, because he just got to the attack. And not only that, there has been this silver-haired Venom that's appeared a couple of times, and she was also at the attack. She like has a whole like confrontation with Garrick and Violet. She can wield lightning, and she's silver-haired. There have been a couple of epigraphs, like chapter introductions throughout this book so far, and also a couple of lines about how only at one other time in history have there been a shadow wielder and lightning wielder alive at the same time. And so I'm wondering if this woman, her name is like Theo something. I can't remember right now, but it starts with a Theo. And I'm wondering if she is that lightning wielder from eons ago. Also, we learn the type of dragon Andarna is. She is called an irid, which I'm wondering if that is kind of short or like a play on iridescent. Violet is like protecting her at all costs now because this Venom silver-haired lightning wielder wants Andarna. No surprise, who wouldn't want Andarna? She's the best character. But just little sprinkles of lore. We're just getting the little sprinkles of lore throughout this book, and I'm having the best time, guys. It just feels so good to be back. It's 20 degrees in the Chick-fil-A drive-through line. I can't feel my hands. If y'all are new here, hi, I don't have air conditioning or heat in my car. This Diet Coke better be worth it. Hey friends, it's now the 22nd. I'm in my classroom, reading for a second before I have students come in here. Middle of chapter 17, and holy mess, Prince Halden has made an appearance. This character has been talked about, hinted about, pretty sure he and Violet had a thing at one point, and this is dangerous because Halden's family doesn't know where Eric is, and obviously he's at flight school, so I feel like Halden being here is about to unleash a slew of chaos. Another day on the couch. We're still reading ONYX Storm. Let me give you a precise update. Obviously at work, I didn't get to read much. When you're at work, you should be working, but every now and then I catch a second or two to pick up my book and read between things. But I am currently exactly at 30%, about to start Chapter 19. My friend Brittany is on sprints right now with her Patreon. Rebecca Yarros is using the word onyx so much, I'm like, this is gonna mean something deeper soon. So something else I wanted to share. Book 1, we loved the tension between Violet and Xaden, like figuring out will they, won't they? They felt like such enemies. Book 2, everybody was annoyed at them all the time because of Violet basically being stubborn. Anyway, like they had some good moments in book 2, but overall, like I know that that's where a lot of people's frustration lied. I feel like their romance, despite the obstacles of Xaden being Venom, you know, has just developed so much more into a believable romance at this point of the book. I feel like both of their characters have matured to a point where neither of them are like annoying or whiny, and they're just working together so beautifully. And right now, oh, I haven't even updated you guys on this. Xaden is now a professor at Basgaiath. He's teaching signet sparring, so like combat, but being able to use your signet during combat. And there is a rule in the codex that students, cadets, cannot be in a relationship with professors at Basgaiath, and so now they're not even allowed to date, but they are dating, but they're not allowed to like act on it at all. So they have so many like actual like real obstacles in their path right now, as opposed to like the fake obstacles they were dealing with in book 2. So like the tension is just building up. Like they almost get together so many times, and then they're either interrupted by people who are babysitting them to make sure they're following the codex, or Xaden can't trust himself to like not use grounded power and become more Venom, or however exactly that works. I don't know, but the tension is good. Riddick is just a class act of a character, like the funny guy. But man, when he gets serious, he is pleading his case to be able to go on this quest with Violet. And she asks him why. What's this really about? I just need to go. He looks away and grips his orange in both hands. One of us needs to go with you. Ever since... Pain flashes through the dark brown eyes as he brings his gaze back to mine. Ever since Abdabine, one of us has been by your side. He lifts his finger. Except the time you snuck out on your little siblings-only trip to Corden. The school splits. We go with you. Basgaia falls under attack and we're there. Heading into Peromial for Marin's brothers, it's us. We get separated and you either get dragged into an interrogation chamber and tortured for days or nearly roasted by Aura's fire. And I know I can't be the only one who thought if Liam had been here, keeping watch over you, it never would have happened. He swings that finger toward Rhiannon and Sawyer. You both know it crossed your minds. Talk about loyal. Talk about loyal. I fear so badly that something is going to happen to Riddick because she has worked so hard to make Riddick in particular stand out amongst a lot of the other side characters. Side characters are kind of a complaint I have about this book and this series in general, but Riddick really shines. She's taken so much time to mold him into a very specific personality who is both the silly, you know, moment of comedy that we need, but when it comes down to it is 100% there for his friends, would lay down his life for his friends, and I'm so worried about him. Good morning, y'all. It's Thursday morning. Thursday is an exciting day because Thursday I'm having some more public sprints tonight. So I should get a lot read today. I got the best sleep last night. I set my alarm for 5 o'clock and I woke up like 10 minutes before my alarm being like, oh no, I overslept because I got that much sleep. So I set my alarm for 5 so I could get some extra reading time in this morning. Look at me. I'm all bundled up. It's 20 degrees outside. I've got my heated blanket on my lap. I've got this big fluffy blanket around my shoulders. My cats are all joining me. So where are we in the book? Right now, Violet and co, because she has taken a whole bunch of people of her choosing, finally, to the Isle Kingdom of Karovish. The names in here, y'all. The names in here in this book. They're there to retrieve something her father left her at a merchant's. And so it was actually a bookstore, and they went and Violet had to answer some questions in order to receive what her father had left for her. And he left her 6 books that are all password protected, of course. Seeing Violet figure out these little passwords to these books has been a lot of fun. The other thing that is so great about these Isle Kingdoms is they are cut off from their magic there. In fact, it's really weird. Violet is the only person here who can communicate with her I try to say griffin and dragon at the same time, who can communicate with her dragons. All of the other griffin riders and dragon riders cannot communicate with their partner. She also can't communicate with Xaden in her mind. Xaden is so happy here. He is calm. He is enjoying like just the presence of the ocean, and he is so relaxed and happy. He's making jokes. He's asking Violet and Dane about what they did as kids. Like, when has he ever acknowledged that Violet and Dane like had a relationship prior to this when he's not being mean? I love seeing Xaden so at peace, but it does make me feel like an avalanche is about to come, because why show us Xaden at peace if you're not about to pull the carpet out from underneath us? So I'm gonna read for about, I don't know, 45 minutes before I have to get ready for work, and it's just great not being tired. I love this feeling. How do I make this happen more often? Quick diversion. Tomorrow night I'm going to game night at my brother's house, and he's making pasta, so I am making these garlic pull-apart rolls. This is right before they go in the oven. They have puffed up nice and beautifully, and I will show you the finished product. I'm gonna go shower, and then I'm doing sprints tonight to get a lot more reading in, I hope. So yeah, cozy time. Can y'all tell how I'm feeling today? I always put my black hoodie on when I'm just like, I just wanna be like this all day, really. Ignore the dust motes flying around my classroom. But I did not read nearly as much as I wanted to on sprints last night. I started reading, let me take this off, I'm ridiculous. I started reading at my desk for sprints, which, like, that's the ideal, but my back was hurting, so I went to lie down in my bed, and I only lasted 2 sprints before I had to cut them off. I am now, I think, 53% of the way through the book, and we're in the middle of a really long book, and usually when you're in the middle of a really long book, you start to feel the drag a little bit, and I'm feeling the drag a little bit. Please ignore how I look. I have a headache Anyway, I'm here to give you an update, not to boast about my perfect skin. But right now it kind of feels like they're on the mission to find Andarna's kind. And so they're like island hopping right now. And so we're like going to an island, learning their culture, interacting with their leadership. Oh, the dragons aren't here. We're going somewhere else. And then there's always some sort of conflict that they're dealing with at each of these locations. So the first location that they went to, Prince Halden got them in a mess of trouble because he was like, y'all have stuff that belongs to us and I'm going to fight you about it. And then they basically had to do interference to get Halden to come home and stop acting like an idiot. And then at this one, oh, and Halden's guard got served to this prince's panthers, like as a meal. Crazy stuff. Like, ugh. This most recent place, three of the people on the quest mission, so Violet and Xaden and Dane, had to fight this island's most like prized fighters to get an audience with the queen. And I just feel like we're just like going, meeting, challenge. Oh, they're not here. Bye. And I'm ready for like us to actually discover something about Andarna's Irid species. I also feel like the ball is about to drop on Xaden and Violet, and I can't explain why I feel like that, but I just feel like that. Things have been too good for too long, you know? Okay, I'm gonna update y'all again when I am looking less like a floating head. Home from work. I am on chapter 38, wearing my Hadestown hat. So happy to be here. But I have about an hour until I go to my brother's for dinner. I said that like things were starting to feel a little bit redundant, but now they're not. We just had so much drama going on at the last island we went to because it turns out that one of the leaders of this, it felt kind of like a city-state, this Greek city-state type situation, is actually Xaden's mom. And I had forgotten from the first book, because y'all know I didn't do a reread, that Xaden's mom was contracted to Xaden's dad to produce an heir, and then she could basically leave and do whatever she wanted. So she had left and went to this place and like got married and started her own life and her own family. But when they land on the island, Xaden has no idea that it's about to be his mom. And oh my gosh, there was so much like tension and family drama. I love that kind of stuff. I eat it up. But also things got so dramatic because you know the scene in The Princess Bride when, I forget the characters' names, but you know, the little guy, he is trying to poison Wesley with mind games, but Wesley is also trying to poison him. It was like that, but on a much bigger scale, because Triumvirate is the name of the like council. They are testing all of the riders and flyers to prove their intelligence, basically. And they poisoned the chocolate cake. And fortunately, Garrick is the only one that eats it, but he gets poisoned. But also Violet has poisoned all of them. And so in order to cure Garrick of his poisoning, the other people have to agree with Violet. It became this whole situation, but basically the poisoners were outsmarting the poisoners. And oh my gosh, it was so intense. I had to read that and then put it down at my planning block. But now everybody is flying to a new island and they feel magic there, and there hasn't been magic on any of the other islands. So everybody's happy again, and I know the happiness is not going to last, but it just feels magical again. Like, obviously where we are in the plot feels magical again, but also the story is feeling magical again. So I'm gonna dive back in for a few more minutes before we leave for our game night.
I've seen a lot of change, been through a lot of pain. Some things are not the same as they were a year ago.
I'm sitting down to read, but this is so rare that I have all three of my babies. So there's Zelda, and there's Kitten, and there's Sherlock, and it's time to read. Right, Kitten? Oh, yeah. End of chapter 38. Right when I was starting to like Kat and was happy for her that she had found herself a man that was not Xaden, he had to go and die. This man just shot an arrow through him because he drew a card with an arrow on it. What the heck, man? I know y'all are getting some unhinged, crazy lighting updates while I'm reading in bed, but I'm trying to give real-time reactions here. End of chapter 40. Violet can talk to all of the Irids. So did Andarna like bond for her entire species? That is insane. Hey friends, I had company last night, so ignore the comforter back there. But update. I have been giving you very shoddy lighting updates today, and obviously it's Saturday, so I am just bumming around the house. But last night was a lot of fun, but I did not get a lot read yesterday. I read a little bit during my planning block and then like half of a chapter before we had our game night, but I just had to come on here because if I don't share this, it's like it didn't happen. My family's game is Mario Party, and I usually play with my brother and sister-in-law and dad and me, and I always lose. We're talking I lose to my dad, who has probably played video games 3 times in his whole life. Last night, it was me and my brother and sister-in-law, and Brent came to dinner and game night, and I won. We also played the new Mario Party, which was a lot of fun, but I wish they offered a 15-turn round. They didn't offer that, which is very strange to me. Anyway, I digress. I won. We had good food, good companionship, good fellowship. My sister-in-law does like to read romantasy, so we chatted a little bit about that. And then I hung out with Brent the rest of the night, and I have been reading all day today. I have made it to chapter... There's so much of a chapter intro in here. I can't even see what chapter it is. Chapter 44. And I'm so mad at so many people. I'm mad at the whole Irid race of dragons because they don't support Andarna. They won't help. Apparently the Irids left the rest of the dragons because they are a species of peace seekers, and they left Andarna behind to be a test for humans. So if Andarna grew up bonded with a human and continued to perpetuate violence and war, they weren't going to accept her. But if she viewed the humans as a peaceful race and came back and gave a report when she sought out the Irids, then they were going to accept her. And because she didn't, they're like, bye sis. And they flew away, and Andarna is, you know, she's already a snarky teenager, but now she's a sulky, snarky teenager, and rightfully so. Her family just basically banished her. Riddick knows about Xaden now, and they're going to tell the rest of the, you know, second year, like, close crew. So Rhiannon and Riddick and Violet and Sawyer are all going to know about Xaden now, which is just like really stressful, you know? It's really stressful. And they're also like, they completely defied orders to go on this mission in the way in which they did. So they are awaiting disciplinary action. So we're about to see that. There is still the whole mystery about the silver-haired Venin. I'm just going to call her T because I can't remember her name. It's like Theophilophysis or something. She really wants Violet to come talk to her and work with her, and I feel like she has the cure to the Venin or something, or that she's like linked with the Irid. Another theory I had is that the Irid are somehow tied to the Venin, and I'm not sure I understand that, and it might be completely wrong. But when the Irid blew their whistle, and they didn't really blow a whistle, but there's like a whistling sound, and then all of the humans are linked with the Irid's like communication pathways. And when Xaden was able to listen in on the Irid's conversations, his eyes turned red like a Venin, and then once they broke the bond of communication, his eyes went back to normal. So I'm like, what's up with that? Also, the Irid, when they were talking to Andarna, guys, it was so sad. Andarna was sitting there, like, giving her life story, being like, family, aren't you proud of me? And she spoke for, like, 2 hours, and then as soon as she was done, they were like, get out of here. It broke my heart. But the Irid said that Andarna had already given her a very deadly second signet. So I knew that we knew it because Rebecca Yarros told us, but what is it? I have a frozen pizza heating up. We're going to wait on that, and then I'm going to get back to reading. Chapter 49 was a spicy chapter. However, Xaden was in control. I am trying to not get spoiled for anything, but my coworkers both finished the book, and they were like, text us after chapter 50, which is the chapter that I'm about to start. So I have no idea what's about to happen, but I'm terrified. I know why chapter 50 was so important. I know why they were like, text us after you read it. Violet's second signet. Phew, manifested. Although we definitely have seen it before. And I figured that it was something along these lines, something that she was doing in her sleep, because I felt like she had been like sharing dreams with people, and that's exactly what it was. I just didn't like put together that that was a signet. So she's a dream walker. She can invade people's dreams while they're sleeping, invade their subconscious, and she doesn't do it willingly, knowingly, it just happens. So that is what Andarna gave her. That is her signet. Wow, what does this mean? What are the implications? What is the big picture of this? Why did the Irids say that the signet Andarna gave her was so dangerous? Something's going to be happening with this that's very important. Stay tuned. Chapter 53 was another chapter my coworker texted me about, so I'm going to leave the camera on while I read this one because I have no idea what's about to happen, but the Venin are attacking. They're trying to like protect the temple. Then all of a sudden the wards went up, and it turns out the Irid showed up after all, and they fired up the ward stone. Hip hip hooray. I don't know what that means. I don't know what's about to happen, but we're like in the midst of battle right now. Anyway, chapter 53, let's go. It's too surreal, too easy. I agree. Andarna left. Andarna left to go learn the ways of the Irid. She broke the bond with Violet and she left. I never expected that. Do y'all see who the POV is in chapter 61? That's new. We're just getting POVs from everybody. Now we're getting an Imogen chapter. Fun. The wyvern shrieks, and a paler shade of gray spreads along its scales, emanating from Riddick's hand. The beast tenses, then ceases to beat its wings, and falls directly towards us. Riddick just turned it to ice on the inside. That's exactly what happened. I knew something was going to happen because that was just too important of a detail to give us and not use it in battle, you know? So the Venin used like these nets to capture both Violet and Taryn. They got free. And also Sigale and Xaden. And Xaden's reaction to Sigale being caught in the net. Like when the riders talk about their bonds with their dragons, wrath courses like a current under the ice I willingly skate onto, cutting my emotions free like the burdens they are so I can be the weapon she needs. She was the first to choose me, to elevate me above all others, the first to see every ugly side of me and accept it all, and every single person in this effing canyon will die before they remove a single one of their scales. Like the way the riders' hearts are connected to their dragons. That's what gets me in these books. Berwin stabs deep between the dragon's scales, and it desiccates, green draining from its scales and shrinking in on itself to a husk. Terror burst through the ice. Berwin just killed a dragon with a dagger. Xaden is channeling to save Sigale. I love her. That is the emotion I cling to, the fire of pure power burning at the feeling's edges, and I know if I take it any farther, it will be the next and final piece to float away. I bare my teeth and yank my hand from the ground, gasping for a full breath as my heart thunders. Oh gosh, Xaden. Sigale is talking to him. You haven't looked in a mirror yet. The red veins branching from your eyes look like her lightning. He's like Venin now. Like pure Venin. Chapter 66. The last chapter, we're back in Violet's POV. The chapter intro is about marriage. Okay. There's only 4 minutes of this chapter. Holy crap, what's going to happen in 4 minutes? Okay, anyway. What? Violet is like back at Basgiath. She's really confused, or maybe they're not at Basgiath. Maybe they're at Tarandor. I'm not sure. But she's back safe. Doesn't have the like best memory of what just happened. Holy shit, Violet. What? I lower my arms, blah, 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 blah. Your finger, Imogen says, then stares at the ground. My finger? The snap, right. I think I broke my arm. I glance down and stare. My left arm is splinted, and a beautiful gold ring with an emerald the size of a thumbnail sits on my hand. When did this happen? It's an official blessing of your legal binding marriage, Brennan whispers, stunned, and then quickly rolls the parchment by the head priestess of Dun's temple. We're married? I don't know what just happened. She got a note from Xaden. She was out for 12 hours. Brennan hands her a note. I think the note on the outside is meant for you. Brennan hands me the parchment. I flip the missive over to see 2 sentences written in Xaden's handwriting. Don't look for me. It's yours now. He's gone. So in Xaden's POV, he kept talking about a new brother, like a new Venom brother, I'm assuming. And I don't know if I was confused and just like missed something, or if one of the characters is now Venom. I need Fantasy Fangirls podcast to come out right now. So a lot of people are saying that they're like sitting in tears at the end of the book. I'm not sitting in tears. I'm sitting at what the heck. How do we wait 2 years to figure out what this all means? Okay, I need time to process, and then I'm going to come back for like final thoughts, things I loved, things I didn't love, things I think could happen, questions I still have portion of the video. So I will see you in a little bit when I don't look like this. Welcome to my end of book, sit down, process my thought portion of the video. So thank you guys for hanging out with me while I was reading it, but let's talk big picture things. First of all, what did I rate the book? Because I feel like that's going to be important to the discussions coming in a moment. So this book I gave a 4.5, which puts it in second place for my favorite in the Fourth Wing series. So number 1 is Fourth Wing, number 2 is ONYX Storm, number 3 is Iron Flame. And let's kind of talk about that for a second. So Fourth Wing got a 5-star because it had the magic of a first book in the same way that Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone has the magic of the first book. You are getting introduced to a new world, and in this case it's a new school, very similar to Harry Potter. We're going to classes, we're getting that first experience of things. So, and this is probably a weird comparison to some of y'all, but bear with me. So for Violet, she is getting to experience threshing. Her dragons are choosing her. She's manifesting a signet. And this felt so nostalgic to me in the way of Harry going to Diagon Alley and getting his wand and doing magic for the first time and learning about his classes and getting put on the Quidditch team, sorted into his house, just like Violet is sorted into a division in the Rider School. So that's where the magic comes from. And of course, as you go through the books, you lose some of that introductory magic to a series because now you're ingrained in it. But there is something to be said of just the magic of being there and experiencing it for the first time with the characters. In the first book, you get so much quality dragon bonding time. And as the books have gone on, I feel like you lose that a little bit. And I did feel that way with especially Iron Flame, but even a little bit in ONYX Storm. A lot of the dragon stuff that we got in here was just their reactions to decisions Violet was making, or Andarna giving quippy little one-liners. And I just, maybe it's the horse girl in me, but I love like the bonding with animal moments. And I would love to see even more of it. So in my reading journal, I wrote down things that I had a problem with, things that I loved, scenes that I loved, reactions that I had, and then questions going forth into the next book. So let's do some of that right now. Let's start with the negative. I only docked this book 1/2 star, so there's really not that much. But my main complaint, and it sounds like a lot of people's main complaints, are just the avalanche of characters that we get at the start of this book. There are so many names that don't feel important at all. And of course that can't be said for like Violet and Xaden. They are our A player characters in this story. And then the B character players are also important. So like the little secondary ring around Violet and Xaden. So that includes people like Garrick, Ree, Imogen, Riddick, Bodhi, those people. Like, we still get a lot of their personality and their one-on-one interactions with the characters, and they are distinguished enough to stand out. But then once you start getting to the royalty and even some of the other people who are first-year flyers or riders, like, you could say their name 10,000 times and I still wouldn't know exactly who they are because they are just a name to me. And they kind of all felt like one collective character. And at the beginning I was like, oh, let me stop and see who that is. But as the book went on, I was like, it really doesn't matter. So I ended up just kind of ignoring the fact that people had different names, and it didn't matter in the end. So I don't know if that's like I need them to be more fleshed out, or I just need her to pull back on character names. Like, just talk about the first year flyers over there. You don't have to give them names because that's confusing, you know? The other part of the book that just felt a little bit redundant to me was the island hopping. And I talked about this in my vlog portion, but in case you skipped ahead, it was like, let's go to a new island. Let's learn their culture. They're going to give us a challenge. They're not going to have what we need. Something risky is going to happen. Bye. And it felt like that just kept happening over and over again. And obviously important stuff was learned at these islands, but I don't know that it was written in the most engaging way because I just kept like, I'm like, we're at new islands. This should be so cool and so immersive and fun. And I just wanted to get to the next one. I never was like, I could stay here even longer and I could learn more things. There's so much lore here. I wanted to get to the next one. I wanted to get to the next one. I wanted to find Andarna's people and I wanted to be done with it. That being said, let's get to things that I loved in this book. See, I have a whole page for ONYX Storm right here. Okay, so scenes I loved or reactions I had. Riddick speaking up to go on the quest. The way he was like, you don't have Liam anymore. You need someone to protect you. I'm going to do the research. I'm going to put in the work and you are going to take me on this quest. He was adamant and everybody just views him as silly little Riddick, and him speaking up like that just melted my heart and made me respect him so much more. Honestly, Riddick was a standout in this book. I loved him. We were like Violet. We just think of him as the funny comedic relief, but he had so much wisdom in this book. The way that he confronted Violet and was like, where is the line for Xaden? There has to be one, and I'm not going to let you walk away without giving me one. He is so wise. If anything happens to him, like, you'll start calling me Violence. I'm not going to be okay. Okay, another scene I loved. And this might be morbid, but I think it's just because Halden annoyed me so much. So when they were at that one island, don't ask me the name of the islands. I cannot tell you at this point. But they were at the one island where Halden's guard got fed to the panthers on a plate. They like pulled it open and they were like, here's your guard's head. Oh, that like did something. And like Andarna's holding a little panther in her teeth and she just sets him down. I don't know, the whole panther scene was really fun. Learning Eric's signet. Eric was a character in Iron Flame that I was like, I would love to see more of him. And I didn't feel like we really got a fleshed out Eric in Iron Flame, but we did here. And then when we learn his signet is being able to kind of see the future, that is going to be so important. And I love his quiet dignity. He is such a quiet, keep to himself person, but then when he does have to speak up, he does it with so much dignity and grace and respect for others. I love his character. I want more of him. So meeting the Irid was fascinating. It also induced a lot of emotions. They are a very interesting race of dragons. I felt so bad for Andarna. She was like, I finally found my family, and then they reject her because of the way that she was raised. Crazy. But knowing that there is a dragon race that stands for peace is interesting, and I wonder how that's going to come into play, especially with Andarna leaving in the end and then coming back. Like, what did she learn there? What did she do? What was the point of her going, and what compelled her to come back at the end? I just want to know these things. Xaden's speech where he is telling Violet that she can be a leader. She feels like she is unqualified, and Xaden is like, nope, the general of the dragons picked you for a reason. Ugh, melted my heart. Xaden being at peace on the beach. Like, he doesn't even want Violet with him when he's like, I'm just gonna stay out here a little bit longer. Knowing that that's probably the first time he has felt peace in so long, and just being able to sit in his own mind without anybody around him. I loved that for him. We learned that Violet's second signet is dream walking, which yes, definitely feels obvious looking back. And I think a lot of us probably knew that that was a power in some way. So like, not as shocking as it could have been, but also cool second signet. I loved the whole poison dinner party. Everybody was poisoning each other. Everybody had the antidotes. It was all about who was going to give first. I thought that scene was written brilliantly, very Princess Bride-esque to me. I absolutely adored that Rebecca Yarros gave us all of the POVs during that battle at the end of the book, because something I always wonder when I'm reading fantasy, we get like the standard POVs from the people that we always follow, but I always want to know how it is affecting other people. I even want to know how it's affecting like the civilians. I would have loved a POV from like some of the people who were trying to go up the mountain to get to safety. That would have been cool. But we got Rhee, we got Imogen, and we got Xaden. When Quinn died, I don't care about Quinn. Like, she's not a character that I feel like I've fallen in love with over time, because we're learning about Quinn from Violet's POV, and she's just one of those characters that's kind of like between a B and C character to me. Like, she's there. I know who she is. I know why she's important, but I don't really care about her. But then getting to read about her dying through Imogen's POV was heart-wrenching. So I love that we got those other POVs, especially because we got to see the bonds with other dragons. We've only gotten that through Violet and Xaden's POVs before, but I loved seeing, is it Garrick that kind of plays pranks with his dragon? I thought that was the sweetest, cutest thing. Ree and her dragon are very snappy and sarcastic with each other, but a different kind of sarcasm than Taryn. So I loved seeing all the different bonds. I talked about how that's something that I wanted more of in the book anyway. And then, Sawyer getting back on his dragon. That was like the ultimate, you fall off the horse, you get back on. He had to overcome so much to do it. He had to work with his dragon. He had to establish that they both still respected each other, even if they had to make accommodations for each other. I'm so happy that he's back in action.